Julian Council from our partners at Locked On Panthers. Julian, I expect there will be many more 17-game Panthers seasons. I don't expect one that will feel as long as this one did. Welcome in.
Oh, yes, one last time from the couch as we dissect what went wrong with the Carolina Panthers here in the 2021 season, now here in 2022. It's been a long one, and we're starting to feel a lot longer as I'm getting choked up just thinking about how long of a season it was. They all seem to be long the last couple of years, and especially this year, finishing off 5-12. Not how we thought things would go when they started off 3-0 this season, but hey, here we are. It's over, and we can all now try to lick our wounds and move forward.
Julian, let's get to it. Matt Rhule reportedly safe for 2022. Do you still think there is a chance he is fired on Black Monday in the NFL?
Well, I don't know. According to Jay Glazer over on Fox, he had a report that was, dare I say, interesting, that Matt Rhule has to have a rock star OC hire. And if he does not get one, then maybe he loses his job, which is weird because if it takes getting a rock star OC and he doesn't get that, then why would you just I don't get that at all. They had a rock star OC in Joe Brady, and well, we saw how that worked out. It did not work out well. Matt Rhule fired him, scapegoated Joe Brady. Now the offense didn't get any better once Joe Brady was gone. So was it all Joe Brady? Obviously not, but clearly there's some fundamental issues to the Carolina Panthers offense, and whoever the OC coming in is going to have to hope that they have a better offensive line and of course a better quarterback. So no, I do not think Matt Rhule will be fired based off of all the reporting that we've heard over the last week and the last month, to the chagrin of most of the fan base, at least the ones that are active on social media.
Let's get to some of the tactics in this game, Julian. Probably Cam Newton's final game as a Panther again. 4th and inches. What do you think about Matt Rhule's explanation to the sideline reporter that both of their quarterbacks can pick that up, and then to the Carolina media that Cam is just more specialized in 4th and 1 yard power runs, and that Darnold should have gotten the inches that he did not get?
Yeah, about that. Well, he's not wrong. Yes, they're both capable. Every quarterback in the NFL should be capable of getting an inch. The problem mainly is the offensive line's terrible, and we've seen multiple situations this year where they just can't even pick up a half a yard like they couldn't do on Sunday afternoon against the Bucs. And also, Sam Darnold bobbled the snap, but the reasoning of they both can do it is not really justifiable, considering why is Cam Newton even on the roster? He only played 2 snaps the last 2 weeks, both in short yardage situations. I mean, really, last week wasn't. It was just random. It wasn't even the red zone, I think, when they brought him in to run the ball. But then today, why not have Cam Newton, who is the best red zone or the short yardage threat in the NFL over the last 10 years? Why would he not be out there in that situation? Why is he still here? I don't really understand that at all. Yes, it's very likely going to be his last game as a Carolina Panther. It's unfortunate that the last 2 weeks, this is the way that Cam Newton went out. It's also unfortunate that he was never able to win a game as a starting quarterback to the Carolina Panthers when he returned here for his second stint, and that the team's bad. And he is unfortunately looks like at the tail end of his career, and I don't know if he gets another opportunity elsewhere. Hopefully for his sake he does, but if you're a Carolina Panthers fan, I think you would definitely want that to not be here, considering that he was reduced to a gimmick short yardage quarterback. And if he's going to be that gimmick, then why not use the gimmick instead of having Sam Darnold, who Matt Rhule also said is 6'4", and he's capable of doing it, which is very true. But it's just a weird answer when you have Cam Newton on your roster to not utilize him in that situation.
End of the broadcast, Julian. Tony Romo pining a little bit, at least saying that Sam Darnold should be back as Panthers quarterback.
Yeah.
12 game sample size, 14 total touchdowns, 17 total turnovers. He was sacked 35 times. Your thoughts on Sam Darnold's future in Carolina, and how do you balance evaluating his play with the play of the offensive line?
I honestly thought Tony Romo made a lot of good points when you take into account what Sam Darnold's done here in Carolina. The one thing he didn't take into account, and he also brought it up, was it's not just this year. It's not just these 12 games. There's 3 years prior to this of tape of Sam Darnold not being a capable starting quarterback in the National Football League. So we're going to ignore all of that because Adam Gase was his head coach and because he didn't have a good offensive line and New York didn't have one here in Carolina. At what point is Sam Darnold allowed to be criticized? At what point is he responsible for his play in the National Football League? Tony Romo had a great speech when he lost his job to Dak Prescott a couple years ago, talking about how the NFL is an ultimate meritocracy. Off of what merit has Sam Darnold earned another opportunity with any of the 32 franchises, including this one, to be the starting quarterback? he didn't earn anything to come here in Carolina in the first place. Like, he should have never came here without at least having to compete for the starting job. He's been handed to it. He's not good enough. It's unfortunate. He seems like a nice enough guy. I feel bad the situations he hasn't been in haven't been great. But also, like, does it take a perfect situation? Do you have to have all pro wide receivers? You have to have all pro offensive line. You have to have a wonderkin offensive coordinator who calls all the great plays for him to have success. If that's the case, everything has to be perfect. And he's clearly not the answer for Carolina or any of the 31 other franchises in the National Football League. So his future in Carolina, he'll be here next year because of the $18 million. And the salary cap hit of that. And I don't think there's another sucker out there in the NFL that's dumb enough, like Carolina was this past offseason, to trade for Sam Darnold. So that's unfortunate, but he'll be on the roster. He'll be the backup, and Carolina Panthers have to find a way to upgrade at the position. Will they? We'll find out. They thought they did with Sam Darnold. And I told you from day one, and my listeners to the podcast, I didn't think they did. Because you look at Sam Darnold's numbers, whatever the excuses are, he just hasn't been a good player in the NFL. It's unfortunate. It's a childhood dream of his, I'm sure. He wanted to. Things have gone differently. They have not gone well. And he is part of it. And a big reason why things have not gone well, because he just doesn't seem to have the makeup to be a successful quarterback in the NFL. And I don't think he deserves another opportunity here in Carolina. He didn't really deserve to have the opportunity this year anyway. So it's unfortunate. But yeah, the Panthers, especially if Matt Rhule wants to coach here past next season, they need to find a much better quarterback and someone who can take care of the football, which Sam Darnold has proven over 4 years he's just not capable of doing.
The search for a new offensive coordinator, Julian, has already started. Bill O'Brien and Jay Gruden, the names connected to the search so far. Are those rock stars, sir?
I mean, Bill O'Brien's doing a great job, I guess, at Alabama, outside of maybe throwing the ball a little bit too much. Yeah, the thing about with Bill O'Brien back in Houston, the issues really arose when he had all the control of the roster, which we're seeing here in Carolina. When a head coach has control of the roster, things don't necessarily go as great. So coming in an offensive coordinator position here in Carolina, I think they would have success. I think it also would potentially give them an opportunity, if things work out legally, to bring Deshaun Watson here as a starting quarterback, something that I believe had all those legal issues not arose, that Deshaun Watson would be here in Carolina right now. But we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I don't mind Bill O'Brien at all. He does seem to be someone who wants to have a head coaching job, whether that's in college or whether that's in the NFL. So I don't know whether he wants to leave Alabama to come be an OC, unless he thinks that coming back to the NFL as an OC will give him a better opportunity if he's not able to get a head coaching job this cycle. And then Jay Gruden, good offensive coordinator in his own right, back when he was with the Cincinnati Bengals. When he had Kirk Cousins with the formerly known as Washington Redskins, did a good job. There is some issues, though, I feel like, with the Washington Post reporting of what's gone on in Washington that would kind of lead me to kind of take a step back. And like, I'm not quite sure whether Jay Gruden is someone they should be targeting, but having a former NFL head coach with that kind of experience to come into this roster and help out Matt Rhule and the staff, which certainly is going to need to have some level changes outside of just Joe Brady being gone this offseason, I think that'd be beneficial. Are they rock stars? I think it just kind of depends on who you are. Like Bill O'Brien, I'm cool with that, I guess, but we'll see who the other candidates and other names are. I don't think there's going to be any stone that goes unturned in the next couple of weeks as Carolina tries to identify who that play caller is who can give them some sort of identity on offense in 2022.
Okay, it looks like Matt Rhule is going to get that third year, Julian, but this isn't like his jumps in college, right? They've dug themselves such a big hole, especially offensively, and they're going to be tasked with trying to dig themselves out of it in just 1 year. I mean, where do you think it starts, and how hard is that going to be to get this ship righted in one off season and then winning the games actually when you have the players to do it?
Yeah, it's the thing too. Like, you think about the defense and how they went from 18th in the league to second this year. And that happened all in an offseason, pretty much. Yes, they allocated every single draft pick back in 2020 to the defense, and guys like Jeremy Chin have turned out to be fantastic players for the Carolina Panthers. I think Yetur Gross-Matos, who didn't play on Sunday because of COVID, he played really well the last couple of weeks, and he can be a key piece for this team moving forward. I think the defense is in a good spot, and maybe they need to get a little bit thicker and be able to stop the run in better situations. But overall, they're a good defense. They need to get more takeaways. But we've seen Matt Rhule, and I guess even Scott Fitterer, as a GM of the Carolina Panthers, be able to fix a side of the ball in a single offseason. Now, offense will be difficult because the offensive line is where they really need to start. And every team in the NFL, outside of maybe 8 have issues on the offensive line, are looking for offensive line depth. You think back to the reporting around the trade deadline of the Panthers trying to find offensive line depth, and pretty much every team, like 24 teams in the league, are looking for that. And so it's going to be difficult. You really got to build through the draft, and you've seen with this draft that maybe Brady Christensen could be a starter moving forward. We finally got to see Deontay Brown today, and we'll see what he does throughout the offseason, maintaining his weight and also hopefully factoring into one of those starting positions at guard next season. But that's a difficult position to have it just turn around in one off season, especially if you don't have the assets, and also guys don't want to come here because they want to go elsewhere and win. And then at quarterback, as we've seen, I have really no faith in Matt Rhule's ability to identify a quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater was never going to be a franchise guy. I didn't think it was a terrible decision to bring him in here as maybe the bridge quarterback, no pun intended, but you had to draft a rookie, which they didn't do, and they bailed on that plan after a single season. And the whole Sam Darnold experiment obviously has not worked out. So who are they going to go out there and get? Is Aaron Rodgers, who's been with the Green Bay Packers, going to want to come to Carolina to play for a coach who's on the hot seat? Same thing with Russell Wilson. Does he want to go from getting beat up in Seattle to come here and having a bad offensive line in Carolina? It's just one of those things where who's going to be there? Like Jimmy Garoppolo got the 49ers to the playoffs this year. Are they going to cut him in favor of Trey Lance? Like Kyle Shanahan's act all year that's his guy, and he had a hell of a drive today. It helped them win that game against the Rams in at the end of fourth quarter, but in overtime. So yeah, it starts with the offense line and it starts with the quarterback, but as that's two of the toughest positions in terms of position groups to get fixed in the NFL, and to do it in one single offseason, there's plenty of teams out there that are wanting to do that, is going to make this all the more difficult for Matt Rhule and his staff as they hope to turn things around in 2022 and have that breakthrough that they typically have had in past stops back at Baylor and Temple.
I will leave you with this question, Julian. It's one that I'm not sure Panthers fans want me to ask. If there is a gleam, as Marty Schottenheimer used to say on the sidelines, of hope that Matt Rhule gives you for 2022, what is it?
I think it kind of goes back to what I said, that you've seen them in the past go out and want to fix the defense, and they did that this year. Now let's see if they can do it with the offensive line. But as I just mentioned, it's going to be difficult to do that. So if there's anything, it's that they've shown that they can go out there and that they put enough resources to a certain side of the ball, they can fix it. But we will see. And then I guess also his track record says that they can have those breakthroughs in year 3. Year 2 didn't really look like that. Who's to say that year 3 doesn't end up being where they want to be? And they talk about they're close, and Brian Burns talked about it on the in the press conference about just there being a few plays each and every game where they're not able to make those. And if it comes down to just a couple of plays, which it really does, but there's also deeper things and deeper issues. That's why you lose 7 straight games to close a season. Then yeah, certainly Carolina can bounce back in year 3. And I think they have the talent on the roster, at least defensively, where they should be a good team next year. And I think that they will make improvements on the offense. Will it be enough for them to take that leap? We will see.
All right, Julian Council, he's going to be talking about it all week on Locked On Panthers. Thank you so much for joining us this year, buddy. I know it's been a long, tough road, and thanks for doing it from your couch. I know we're getting you in here for the 2022 season. I just hope the record looks a little better. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I hope there'll be better days ahead, Nick. We will see. Everyone out there at home, thanks for watching, and also, be strong. The Hornets are good, so we got that. They beat the Bucs last night. Hope they beat them again tomorrow. So there'll always be better days.
Just waiting for you to switch over. You got any empty roster slots over on Locked On Hornets, but I know you're holding it down on Locked On Panthers. Thanks for being with us every Sunday.
Absolutely.